Good evening. I'm Messiah Josiah, and this is a Sim News Now special report. Tonight, Nigeria's anti-drug campaign is entering a major new phase. The federal government has announced compulsory drug testing for secondary school students nationwide as authorities intensify efforts to tackle rising substance abuse among teenagers. At the same time, international anti-drug advocate Ambassador Sunny Arakpo is calling for stronger rehabilitation systems and prevention programs, while the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency records one of the country's biggest narcotic seizures this year. Here's our special report.
Start off with education, where the federal government has introduced stringent new measures to combat drug and substance abuse in secondary schools, including mandatory drug tests for students and temporary suspension for those who repeatedly test positive after undergoing treatment and rehabilitation procedures.
The federal government says the policy is aimed at reducing rising cases of substance abuse among teenagers and creating safer learning environments across schools nationwide. Under the new guidelines, newly admitted students must undergo compulsory drug screening before enrollment, while returning students will face routine tests at least once every academic session.
This process is designed to protect students and help them make healthier choices for their future.
I understand. Thank you.
You're taking a brave step.
Government officials say counseling will now become mandatory before and after screenings, while students who repeatedly test positive may be referred for rehabilitation and specialist care.
To better understand the growing global response to drug abuse, let's now take a look at scenes from the launch of the Silec International magazine in the United States.
Silec rising, lighting up the world. Voices shaping futures yet unheard. Power moving nations every night. Silec magazine, the global light. Silec rising.
In the United States, anti-drug advocate Sunny Arakpo officially unveiled Silec International magazine, a global media platform focused on drug prevention, youth empowerment, and public awareness. Ambassador Sunny Arakpo's television interview and reactions surrounding Nigeria's new compulsory school drug testing policy.
The Silec initiative, so joins me on the news this hour for more on this new development. Mr. Arakpo, thanks for joining us on the news this hour. From your experience in drug prevention advocacy, is mandatory testing at entry the right starting point, or could it be doing more harm than good?
Well, thank you so much for having me once again. It is a step in the right direction. It's going to do more good, okay, than harm, because considering the level of drug abuse in the country and the population that we are considering here, it is a step in the right direction, because a drug demand reduction strategy is needed to combat it. And announcing this make it very proactive for we to curb the issue of drug abuse in Nigeria, because it is an asset-based model. You are not just looking at the acts, but you're also looking at the people that are involved in the act. That is to say, the age 18 and 38 are the worst user of this cankerworm. And we have seen all over the years that if these young people that are supposed to be channeling their energies and doing what is right are left to die in that state, it is not a good thing for the country. So I believe it is a commendable step.
It requires periodic and even impromptu drug tests. Many of our schools already struggle with basic counseling infrastructure. How realistic is it to expect students, or rather schools, to conduct these tests without violating students' rights or damaging trust?
Apart from even violating rights, the federal government of Nigeria needs to also walk the talk. It is not just the announcement, but also making sure that they take decisive step. Action is what we want to see. What is the budgetary allocation to the NDLE? What is the performances of that budget? When you conduct tests, okay, for example, those who are engaged in drugs, how do you want to rehabilitate them? Do you have the rehabilitation centers? Do you have the infrastructure to deal with the issue? So on the part of the government, they have a lot of things in their hands that they need to put in place for us. Because at the end of the day, it will just sound as if it's just the rhetoric, the words that they keep telling us. So the federal government must match this with action. And considering the level of damages drug has done to the lives of young people, which you know that drug also reduce performance in school, young people that are brilliant, by the time they go into drug, performance drop drastically. So this is going to also help to address the issue. So apart from telling them to do the drugs, I believe the federal government of Nigeria must also put in place the right infrastructure that will help us to deal with the matter with results.
In and of itself may detect use, but it doesn't necessarily address why students are now turning to drugs in the first place. How exactly do we solve that?
I think we need to take a more proactive step by also increasing the kind of awareness and sensitization information that's be readily available to young people by taking a drug demand reduction strategy, drug use preventions that will be out there for young people to assess. And that is why some of us here in the US, as yesterday, we also unveiled the Silec International magazine to help us put out there the information that these young people should have access to, because we have a lot of fake narratives, we have a lot of fake news out there, and various platforms that is misleading these young people. So we need a credible platform where these young people will go to and get the right information. So the federal government also must intensify the efforts in drug prevention. We want to see sensitization. We want to see not just the traditional sensitization. We need to engage the AI. We need to bring in on board different strategies that will enable us to reach out to the grassroots, because information is power. And when you are looking at these young people, these are the people that's going to sit in the industries that the government are creating, and no organization is going to employ drug addicts. So for we to maintain our employability status and productivity, including healthier workforce, I believe the federal government must also increase the level of advocacy and drug prevention strategies that will enable these young people to have access to credible information.
Good place to live. A founder, Silec Initiative, Sunny Rakpo, thank you for your insight on this developing story.
The government must move beyond policy statements and provide real infrastructure, rehabilitation centers, prevention programs, and adequate funding for agencies fighting drug abuse.
Nigeria risks losing more young people to addiction if anti-drug policies are not backed by sustainable investment and institutional support.
The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency says it intercepted over 4,000 kilograms of Canadian loud cannabis worth more than 10 billion naira at the Tinkan Island port in Lagos.
Authorities say the operation followed months of intelligence gathering and collaboration with the United States DEA, UK Home Office International Operations, and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
This massive seizure sends a strong message to international drug syndicates attempting to use Nigeria as a transit route. We will not rest until every link in this criminal supply chain is dismantled.
Officials say the latest seizure highlights growing cooperation between Nigerian authorities and global law enforcement agencies.
From mandatory school drug testing in Nigeria to international awareness campaigns and billion-naira narcotic seizures, the global fight against substance abuse is intensifying.
Governments, advocacy organizations, educators, and law enforcement agencies say prevention, rehabilitation, and enforcement are key to protecting our youth.
And international cooperation will remain critical in protecting future generations from addiction and organized drug trafficking. I'm Messiah Josiah. Thank you for watching.